What's going on, everybody? It's Royalty Crypto here, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about Litecoin and giving some price predictions for this coin, and this was actually recommended by one of my OG subscribers, so shout out to them. I'm also going to take a look at the overall crypto market as a whole, basically letting you guys know what I think about this current correction that we are experiencing, and just a couple of different interesting pieces of news that I saw today. And guys, if any of you have any crypto coins in particular that you would like me to do a video review on, please drop them in the comment section. I'd be happy to do a video review on basically any coin as long as it is at least above a $30 million market cap. But without further ado, let's take a look at the crypto market. So as you guys can see, Bitcoin is currently trading at 86,700. So we have had a bit of a roller coaster of a day, as yesterday we were above 91,000, looking somewhat bullish, but then we had more fear enter the market and we did get to as low as about 84,500 earlier today, and since then we are trying to recover. So I do believe that there are multiple reasons why this dip is taking place, and I will get into that later on in this video. And of course, as you guys know, I do believe that most altcoins are trading in the direction that Bitcoin is trading, and so since we've seen quite a significant dip of 5% in the last 24 hours for Bitcoin, that is why I do believe that altcoins are struggling immensely today. But when there's fear in the market, I do believe that it presents opportunity. That is not financial advice, of course. So let's go ahead and scroll on down to the 18th most valuable coin in the space, and that is Litecoin. So as you guys can see, Litecoin is currently trading at $77.50. It is down 7.5% in the past 24 hours and 10% in the past 7 days. We are trading at just under a $6 billion market cap, and we have a fantastic volume of $760 million in the past 24 hours. And one last thing to note, the tokenomics on this coin, especially for a layer 1, are very solid, as we have over 90% of the tokens in circulation, so you do love to see that. So let's take a look at the Litecoin chart. So as you can see, over the past about 2.5 to 3 years since 2023, we are actually maintaining a steady uptrend on Litecoin. So in terms of the chart, this chart actually does look significantly more bullish than most other altcoins in the space. And as you can see right now, we are actually at the bottom of that upwards trend line. So historically, over the past 3 years, it has been a very good time to be buying Litecoin when it is at the bottom of this trend line. So in my opinion, guys, if you do like this project and think that it has a lot of potential in the short to medium term, this would be a good place to be accumulating. But of course, that is not financial advice. That is just my opinion. And when you take a look at the overall crypto fear and greed index, we are sitting well into fear at a 20. And when this does update later tonight, I do expect this to drop even lower, most likely down to a 15, which is back into extreme fear. So this is yet another reason why I do believe that now is a great time to be dollar cost averaging back into altcoins. Now, I don't think it's ever a good idea to just, go all in on a coin at any given time with all the money that you have in your bank account. I don't think that would be a wise decision whatsoever. But personally, what I'm doing, guys, is I am slowly buying back in, and I've been buying at least once a week, if not more, especially on days when we are seeing fear like today. So if I were to give a price prediction for Litecoin in particular, I think that we could get back to all-time highs for this coin if we do see a parabolic alt run at some point. So that is $350 per coin. But honestly, guys, I think because of the narrative with this being a layer 1 blockchain, and layer 1s have been very hot in the last couple of months, and I do expect it to stay that way for basically the entire cycle, I could potentially see this coin getting to about a $50 billion market cap, which would be roughly about an 8x from here. So definitely not bad gains, especially considering the fact that this is one of the largest altcoins in the space and an original altcoin. It survived about 3 to 4 cycles at this point, so I don't think this coin is going anywhere, to say the very least. So yeah, not a bad risk to reward in my opinion. Alright guys, so let's briefly take a look at some Litecoin news. So one thing that I did not love to see is the fact that CoinShares actually withdrew their SEC filing for their Litecoin ETF late last month. So this is not fantastic, and the fact that the other Litecoin ETF is currently seeing zero inflows, you don't love to see that. However, guys, I never expected these ETFs to really gain traction until the true altcoin season starts. right now altcoins have a terrible sentiment around it, and that is just really not the time that you would expect Wall Street to start FOMOing into these coins. So I do believe that this is more of a short-term concern, and say next year we do end up getting a parabolic altcoin season at some point, it is very likely that we will see more ETF companies file for a Litecoin ETF and potentially some positive Litecoin inflows coming into the ETFs that are currently trading. So I'm not too worried about that. Just a couple of other things too. Litecoin is constantly trying to do upgrades on their network, which is good to see just because of the fact that the layer 1 space is starting to be very packed and competitive. So Litecoin really does need to up their game if they want to stay relevant in these times. Also guys, they did launch a $100 million ecosystem fund that will be supporting startups on the Litecoin network. So you do love to see that as well. Whenever you can incentivize people to build on top of your project, it is a positive thing in the long run. All right, so now I wanted to talk about why I do believe we are seeing some volatility in the crypto space today. So Jerome Powell is actually scheduled to have a speech tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now there's a good chance that this speech ends up being a bit of a nothing burger. However, before these speeches, we always do see volatility in the market because people are just overall concerned that Jerome Powell is going to have a hawkish stance. Jerome Powell is known to be a very hawkish Fed chair, and right now people are wondering whether or not he will actually cut rates in December. So tonight's speech will end up being a big deal if he does happen to mention anything about the upcoming rate cuts or potentially when he plans on starting quantitative easing. But if he doesn't mention any of those things, then it most likely will be a nothing event and something that we do not need to worry about whatsoever. So this is one of the reasons why I do believe we did see some downwards price action for Bitcoin. The other thing is there's a rumor going around right now that there is a high likelihood that the Japanese carry trade will likely be collapsing in the coming days to weeks. Now we did actually have fear around this earlier this year as well. And if you guys remember, the market did actually have a correction based on this news. So we'll just have to see if this news actually does come to fruition this time and if the carry trade actually does collapse. If it does, we could definitely expect to see a rough period of time where we could see more of a correction in not only the crypto, but also the stock market. But guys, I'm really not too worried about this at the moment. Worst case scenario, we'll see more dips in the short term, but in the long term, I don't think this will be a big deal whatsoever. All right, guys, and then the last thing that I wanted to talk about today is actually some bullish news. So earlier today, Trump did announce that he will be making his decision on the upcoming Fed chair within the next couple of days to weeks potentially. And at the moment, betting markets like Kalshi is showing that Kevin Hassett has a 75% likelihood of being the next Fed chair. And if you guys know anything about Kevin, he is actually by far considered the most dovish selection that Trump could possibly make for the Fed chair, which is incredibly bullish for risk on assets like crypto. And as you can see here, he has previously stated that he has a preference of significantly lower interest rates, and he has also said that he would be cutting interest rates right now if he were in charge based on the economic data. So this is exactly what we want to see, and I do believe that this will end up being the fuel that we need to see that crazy crypto rally in 2026. So in my opinion, guys, right now is not the time to be bearish, it is the time to be bullish, and I think once Trump finally does make this announcement, it will start to become a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So if Kevin is actually the person that Trump ends up going with, he will be officially the Fed chair in May. So that could end up giving us a parabolic rally heading into that Fed chair change. And we could end up seeing a potential top in May of 2026. But of course, we'll just have to see what ends up happening on the charts leading into that time. But all right, guys, so that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will be talking to you guys tomorrow. Peace.